Hello, everyone. Welcome. On behalf of the Institute of Politics and our partners tonight, the Pearson Institute for the Study and Resolution of Global Conflicts and International House, for this speaker and series discussion, Haiti, a deep look at a nation in ceaseless turmoil. My name is Ariana Lafontaine, or Ariana Lafontaine. I'm a fourth-year student in the college majoring in race, diaspora, and indigeneity, and Romance languages and literatures, specifically French and Haitian Creole. This year, I am doing my capstone project on some of Haiti's financial history. I am Haitian myself, and the issues that we'll be discussing today are some that have been plaguing me for a very long time. In my view, Haiti has never gotten a true chance to survive on its own, as there has always been some sort of menacing interference. I am very excited to hear how today's conversation goes. Today, we are honored to have three amazing speakers to discuss this nation: the former Prime Minister of Haiti, Michèle Pierre-Louis, President of the Center for American Progress, Patrick Gaspard, and journalist and editor at the Haitian Times, Fritznel D. Octave. Dr. Pierre-Louis served as the second female Prime Minister of Haiti from September 2008 to November 2009. Entering office after a series of economic and natural disasters, she focused on rebuilding the country's infrastructure to address not only the direct impact of these events, but also years of instability and poverty. Outside of her political career, Dr. Pierre-Louis serves as the executive director for FOCAL, the Knowledge and Freedom Foundation, which focuses on education, culture, gender inequality, and training young entrepreneurs. Mr. Gaspard was born to Haitian parents, and he served as the official negotiator in the talks that led the creation of the current transitional government in Haiti. Now the head of CAP, he once served as the White House Director of Political Affairs and was the Obama administration's ambassador to South Africa. He has also worked on many local, state, and federal campaigns over his career. He has fervently defended students all across America and their right to use tools of protest to express their views about United States foreign policy. This event will be moderated by Fritznel D. Octave, an award-winning journalist and editor at the Haitian Times. Some quick housekeeping before we begin. First, please silence your cell phones. Second, when it is time for a Q&A, a microphone will be placed in the audience. Please line up and remember that priority will go to students first. Finally, please make sure to check upcoming events, including a Chuck Todd moderated student debate between the presidents of UC Dems and College Republicans at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, October 29th in the third floor theater of Ida Noyes Hall. We also invite students to attend our election night watch party in the Cloister Club at Ida Noyes from 6:30 to 10 p.m. on November 5th. Now, please join me in welcoming to the stage Dr. Michèle Pierre-Louis, Ambassador Patrick Gaspard, and Mr. Fritznel D. Octave.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We are glad to be with you. This is a very important moment, not only for us as a Haitian, but also for the world who would like to really understand and really dive into what's going on in Haiti and then how what's transpiring on the ground and affect the lives of Haitians who have been suffering for quite some time since the country, since the birth of the country, I would say. With me tonight, as our student already presented, the former Prime Minister Michèle Pierre-Louis and former Ambassador Patrick Gaspard. Well, we're going to really dive into the current situations, but also in light of history, to really understand how really Haiti can move forward past this current crisis we are in. Without further ado, I'm going to give each of the distinguished speakers to open with a statement. Former Prime Minister Pierre-Louis, you're going to be first. So tell us a little bit, just in 5 minutes, and then Ambassador Patrick Gaspard going to have 5 minutes for an open statement as well.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here because as I was telling the students that I met just before this meeting, when I left office, I was invited at the IOP at Harvard University, and that was the best time of my life. So I'm very pleased to be here tonight to the IOP at the University of Chicago and see all the students, the brilliant students I met at Harvard a few years ago. And I really want to thank you for the invitation. It's always difficult to talk about Haiti because what comes back so often is the violence, the gang situation, the murders, women being raped. It's true, all that. But Haiti cannot be reduced to just that. There are people in this country that are resisting every day, that are fighting every day, that are producing every day, that are creating every day. And each time I have the opportunity to talk about Haiti, this is something I want to remind to all the people who are listening to what I have to say. I know this country fairly well. I have traveled throughout the country. I have represented Haiti in the most difficult times and situations. And I know that my country is worth so much more than what the outside world has made of it, even recently. And this is what I want to convey to you tonight as I'm ready to answer your questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Pierre-Louis. Thank you. Ambassador Gaspard.
Sac passé?
Na boule.
All right. Good evening, everyone. It's really a joy to be able to join you all and to be introduced by an outstanding student member of the Haitian diaspora here. This is the third occasion that I've had to come and speak at the University of Chicago in IOP. The other two instances were focused almost exclusively on, actually the first time was domestic politics in America. The second time was about the U.S. relationship to Africa. And it's good to be able to bring it together in this Haiti-specific conversation. As I was being introduced, it was noted that I participated as an active negotiator in the work of transition in Haiti to help stand up the interim government. I hope that there's an opportunity to unpack how that occurred and to take up an assessment of how that implicates the U.S. and other actors, other stakeholders in the region, not only in the past, but in outcomes for the future as well. I also hope, as has been the case in past practice when I've been here at Chicago, that this can be a space that's kind of diplomacy-free and can be a space for provocation. I want you to understand that the person who is sitting to my right is one of the most courageous figures that I've ever had an opportunity to engage with. She and I have been together on the ground in Haiti. There are ways that her life has been imperiled in the past as a consequence of her ability to speak with conviction about what democracy actually ought to mean in Haiti, but also in its relationship with the U.S. and the region. And I say that not only to praise her, I can't get enough of praising her, but also because I hope it's going to lead us to a really candid dialogue about the continued complicity of American actors in the challenges that you see on CNN sometimes that seem like remote challenges, but are really proximate to the choices that you have in front of you in America.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, Prime Minister. Prime Minister. So the first questions I'm going to ask both of you, you probably take a good 3 to 4 minutes each to answer. to go really deep because we know we have many students here and probably around the world. As this event been promoted, so they are watching online. So they would like to really understand Haitian history, the history of Haiti, how come a country, who would even think that a country almost, I'd say 220 years of independence. And an independence that was for the most part transformed, participating in a very unique and significant way to transform the world order. And here we are. So over 20 decades later, we're talking about a country very unstable, not even have a government, a functioning government. We're talking about gang trying to take over the whole country, keep the entire population hostage. So how we come to understand what transpired in the history of Haiti, in a way that history influence what's going on right now?
Well, that's it's a long history. It is true that it's important to understand the history of Haiti and to try to understand to what extent what happened in the past weighs on what is happening today. It is true because the way Haiti became independent and what the independence meant at the beginning of the 19th century by creating a new black republic that was unthinkable at the time. There was a scholar, a Haitian anthropologist, who used to teach here at the University of Chicago. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2012, and he wrote a very important anthropologist book titled Silencing the Past, Power and the Production of History. And what it treats in this book is how difficult it was for the superpower of the time, the colonial power of the time, to accept Haiti's independence and the meaning of that independence. And that goes for all of them, whether it's France, Great Britain, and the United States. When you read history, even President Washington financed the French colonists to see if they could really crush the independent movement in Haiti. So how can a small third of an island with a movement led by former slaves who become president, who creates a republic, who creates an empire also, how can that be accepted? And it has never been accepted. So next year it's going to be the bicentennial of the ordinance of the King of France, Charles X, imposed on the country in 1825 in order to recognize the independence of Haiti. And that was 150 million gold francs that Haiti had to pay in 5 years. The budget of Haiti at the time was $15 million. And they had to pay the first installment in the French ordinance arrived in July. They had to pay the first installment of 30 million by December of 1825. So you can imagine what that means. And a lot of people say that Haiti should have never signed that document. But there were 500 cannons. And actually, that's the beginning of what is called the gunboat diplomacy, which is an oxymoron, by the way. Diplomacy means nonviolence. When you have a gunboat diplomacy, you have cannon that are really right facing the capital of Port-au-Prince and telling the president, if you don't sign, we're going to bombard the country. So he signed, and he knew in what he was getting involved, because he knew that the country could not pay. And in order for Haiti to pay the first installment, Haiti had to borrow the money from French banks. And it took us 62 years to pay the indemnity and the spiral of debts that we got involved in. So how do you want this country that came out of a war, that won the war, that abolished slavery, that created an independent state of black people, how do you want it not to be totally, how would I say it, totally destroyed by this debt and this spiral of debt? And it's only then that a few countries recognized Haiti. And the US, it took them over 60 years to recognize Haiti. But what was interesting in this also is that while the US did not recognize the independence of the country, there was a lot of commercial relationship with Haiti, because the US still needed our coffee, our cotton, our cocoa, our precious trees.
Bauxite.
Yes. And this never stopped. So during the whole 19th century, we were engaged in a spiral of debts. And there were very, very little possibilities to build a governance that could really offer a population that was left to its own devices public services. There was no money. We didn't have the funds to do that. Everything, they used to have demonstration by the population when the boat came to get the installments, because it was paid in gold. So the population that is really left to its own devices in poverty is looking at gold money being embarked on boats to go pay a debt to the former slave owners. So, and that continued until something else happened. And you see, the reason why Haiti finds itself in that situation also of being in that unthinkable, because the word unthinkable is from Tuyo, is that we helped Bolivar to liberate countries in South America, Colombia, Venezuela. And when Bolivar organized the first conference for independent Latin American countries, Haiti was not invited. And that's the way it's been throughout our history, That doesn't mean that we don't have our own responsibilities. We do. But at the same time, the margin in which we were confined has had a lot of weight to what happened to Haiti later on. One last word about that is that when the US decided to build the Panama Canal, and there were issues and turbulences in some countries like Nicaragua, Panama, the Dominican Republic, Haiti. There was the Spanish-American War where the US invaded Cuba and then Puerto Rico, and then invaded all these other countries also. And in our case, we still owed money to France, not the debt or the indemnity, but the spiral debt we got engaged in. And the US collected all the debts and said, okay, now you're going to owe us only. And that lasted until the 1940s, that we were still paying the US for the collection of debts that Haiti had contracted with other stakeholders. So all this, of course, weighs on Haiti. But I want to come back later on, because I think that will also explain the gang situation today. But this has to do with the poorest country in the hemisphere. When all the media say and claim that Haiti is the poorest country in the hemisphere, all this story that led us to have that label are not even talked about. You know, nobody mentions why is it the poorest country in the hemisphere. And I myself, I see that when you look at the indicators that lead to poverty, you know, the GNP and things. Yes, of course, they are all perhaps in red, but I don't think that are all the indicators. You know, if you were thinking about creativity, I think we would be on top. If you were thinking about community development, I think we would be also on the top of the of the scale. So this is to answer your question in a way about how history weighs on the present situation, but there are certainly other factors.
I mean, this is, I mean, you really touch upon all different aspects of that history and how they really interconnected to create the type of environment we have today. So, Ambassador Patrick.
I'm always hesitant to follow my prime minister, but I'll say a few things, and maybe I'll connect some of the dots in all of what she just exposed. You know, I think my favorite American writer is William Faulkner, and Faulkner famously said that the past is never dead. It's not even past. So the past of Haiti is not even past, right? It feels sometimes, if you're a Haitian in the diaspora, it feels as if we've never been forgiven for the original sin of rebellion against France, the original sin of becoming the first independent, self-emancipated Black republic. The Prime Minister laid out all of the things that France did to reclaim debt. But I want you to have just a little bit of clarity about a thing. What is the debt that France was collecting on? Right? France was collecting on debt that they said that Haiti owed them as a consequence of seizing property from the French. Do you understand what the property was? Slaves. It was people, right? So Haiti, in essence, is paying this nation back for decades, for slave bodies. That's what you need to understand. We're not paying back for decades for the mansions or for land in Haiti. It's for slave bodies. It's a really important thing to understand about the relationship that exists between Haiti and France, and then Haiti and the United States. The Prime Minister mentioned Bolivar. That's, of course, Simon Bolivar. You have to understand, Simon Bolivar launched from Haiti. He didn't launch from Haiti barehanded. He launched from Haiti into his liberation struggle with hundreds of weapons, hundreds of guns that were given to him directly by the Haitian people. There were Haitian soldiers who volunteered, who went on the ship with Simon Bolivar to say, just as we claimed our freedom, we're going to spread this notion, this clarion call for freedom across the region because we feel connected to these people, right? So this is an important thing to understand in the history. How many of you have ever visited Thomas Jefferson's Monticello? All right, so you've been to Monticello. One of the interesting things about Monticello, if you get to, there's the tour of Monticello, but then there's the tour that you get when you ask too many questions. So if you ask too many questions on that tour, you will discover that Thomas Jefferson was obsessed with the question of the original sin of Haiti. And one of the things that they actively did in Monticello was to suppress any news whatsoever about the emancipatory noise that was coming up from Haiti. They wanted to make sure that not a single slave in Monticello ever heard of this uprising. There's this extraordinary book written by a historian named Julius Scott called The Common Wind, where he talks about how the news of Haiti's independence spread throughout the Americas and throughout the world, and what that inspired and what that galvanized. And in that book, he kind of like explicates what American leaders did to make sure that that was not part of the common parlance in places like New Orleans, in Mississippi, Georgia, Virginia, et cetera. It's really important to understand that baseline of that history to appreciate how it impacts into the future. The Prime Minister talked about the debt that was consolidated by American interests in Haiti. Do you know what those American interests currently are? Like that American interest that consolidated that debt has a name now. It's Citibank. So there's an important story important history that was written for the New York Times. I think it's 3 years ago now, that lays out the history of Citibank's complicity in the challenges in Haiti. So Citibank,
The ransom.
the ransom, it's a ransom that was consolidated and organized and governed by the entity that is now Citibank. Just understand, they collected interest from that slave ransom to France when they consolidated debt. When did the U.S. consolidate that debt? This starts happening when? 1914. What happened in 1914? That's when U.S. Marines came and occupied Haiti. Why is that an important point of inflection in the history? My grandfather worked for a company in Haiti called the Haitian American Sugar Company. Trust that there was nothing Haitian about the Haitian American Sugar Company. The Haitian American Sugar Company was an entity that had existed for quite some time in Haiti that took advantage of the sugar crop in Haiti that was then shipped to the United States. At the behest of the Haitian American Sugar Company and the entity that eventually became Citibank, Woodrow Wilson was convinced that Haiti was too unstable for their investment interests and that he had to send in the U.S. Marines to occupy Haiti to create, quote, peaceful transitions in Haiti. So the Marines occupied the country from 1914 till 1934. Official occupation changed the Constitution, changed the rules for what it means for foreigners to be able to own land in Haiti, and completely destabilized institutions and the trajectory of that nascent republic. The DNA of that persisted into late 20th century politics. That was evident when? Here's why the past is never past. 1971, what does the U.S. do in Haiti? There's an epidemic of swine flu in the Dominican Republic, and Americans become concerned that that can spread to the U.S., so they ordered the destruction of all of the Creole pigs in Haiti, which they were worried would get the infection from the Dominican Republic and spread it to the U.S. So they decimated the entire pig population that all these farmers had, which was their kind of lifeblood in Haiti. Really important. Fast forward, and I'll end here, to this last little bit of, I think, really pertinent history. If you want to understand the complications of the history and how the U.S. went from a kind of imperial relationship to Haiti to a Cold War, can't have another Cuba relationship to Haiti, to all these concerns around domestic politics and migrants, I would give you as Exhibit A, a decision made by a good Democrat, Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton becomes, president of the United States, elected in 1992, a campaign that I was proud to work on. What does Bill Clinton do in his first term in office? He issues a decree that the U.S., he basically forces Haiti to lift the tariff that it had against the importation of American rice into Haiti. Why? So Haitian farmers are self-sufficient, growing their own rice, living off of that rice. He lifts the tariff. Why? Because Bill Clinton was from where? Arkansas. Arkansas is responsible for half the rice crop in America. One town in Arkansas called Stuttgart is where all the darn rice comes from. So he lifts the tariffs against importation of U.S. rice into Haiti, then gets the American government to subsidize the Arkansas rice that then Haitians have to buy with their aid resources, and they stop, they lose the capacity to grow their own rice. Why is that important now? We're in a moment where Haiti is going through profound food insecurity, where you have thousands of people in the capital that are starving, and several million in the surrounding provinces that have no capacity at all to grow their own food stuff. So just understand, when you turn on the television and you hear about all these people who are having these challenges in Haiti, it comes out of our politics.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Ambassador. So,
Bill Clinton apologized for that in 2010. You can look it up.
Did.
He said, I'm sorry, that was bad policy.
Yeah, he did.
Oops.
He was sorry at one point.
He was sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. This is very important. So all these different aspects, being from former Prime Minister Pierre-Louis, from Ambassador Gaspard. So it's very important for you to understand really how Haiti is kept mentioning, that narrative keeps going on and on and on, that Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, while at certain point in time, it was the pearl. It was the most producing colony for Europe. Wealth, sugar, flour, rice, cotton, cacao. You're talking about any kind of product that the European market needed at the time in the 1700s, 1800s, prior to the slave revolution. So you're talking about all these different crops, agricultural crops that was feeding Europe. And put on top of that, you have, after independence, that extortion, we will say. Even call that debt of independence. You fought a war, you won it square and fair on a battlefield, and then later on for the person who lost the war come back, say, hey, you have to pay me to recognize your victory. So this is nonsense. So this was, and then at the mercy of the gun, right? The gun diplomacy, the gun diplomacy, right? Prime Minister. So, we continuing to touch on that same question in history. When you take the United States and you see, for a lot of times, we are very connected in terms of what happened and what's going on here in the U.S. and then what's going on in Haiti. So, for better understanding, we have one side, the United States fought England to get independence. But to me, it looks like, this is like parents-children relationship, where you have your children become of age. They feel like, okay, now I need to emancipate, to control my own bank account. I don't need, my parents to control my money. I'm working hard to earn, and so on. And
I want that life. Can I get that life?
Yeah.
I want that life.
Okay. Yeah. So to me, that the United States, in a sense, that's what it is. Basically, this kind of revolution we're talking about in the U.S., but in Haiti was a different kind of revolution, where you have a group of people who were not considered as human beings, but a producing machine to enrich in imperialism, colonialism. So they were fighting for survival. They were fighting for their life. They were fighting for dignity as the very basic dignity of human being. That's what they fought for, and then they won that battle. So for the United States to take 62 years before even acknowledge that Haiti was a country. So this is kind of, I don't know what you call it, Ambassador Patrick.
No, I defer to my Prime Minister.
Well, there's something else that needs maybe to be talked about in the difficult relationship that we had with the United States. When the US occupied Cuba, or won the war, the Spanish-American War, that's the way it's called in history, and occupied all the countries I talked about before, there was the renewal of the sugar industry. And Cuba was the first country to experiment a very strong development of sugar factories. And so the US, when you cultivate sugar cane for exploiting and transforming into sugar, you need arms, you need people. You need people to cut the sugar cane, you need people to work in the transforming factory. And what the US did is that they used the Haitian peasantry as a labor force. So the first forced migration of Haitians occurred in 1916 when the US took 20,000 Haitian peasants, poor, and took them to Cuba to work in the sugar factories. And if you go to Cuba today, those who can, mostly in the Oriente, you will find all the descendants of Haitian sugarcane cutters. So that was first Cuba. Then they occupied Haiti and the DR. Haiti is a very mountainous country. There are not too many plains, even though they did create the Haitian American Sugar Company and two other ones. But in the DR, they created about 20. And they didn't need to have a boat to take the Haitian labor and bring it to Cuba. So they just crossed the border with the Dominican Republic. And that was again when the whole migration of Haitian peasants were used in the sugar factory of the Dominican Republic. And the situation with the DR is extremely complex, as you've heard. And it didn't start then. It started much earlier. Maybe it's a different story. Because actually Haiti had occupied the Dominican Republic in the mid of the 19th century. And it is Haiti that abolished slavery in the DR. This is something until today the Dominican Republic does not want to acknowledge, that those who liberated the slaves in the DR were the Haitian, was the Haitian government of the time. So Haiti is considered to have a labor force that can be used anytime, anywhere. It was used in the construction of the Panama Canal. It was used in Cuba. It was used in the DR. And it was used in the United States also. So this is another way to consider the country. You know, it's a bunch of poor, illiterate peasants that can be used to go there, and not understanding something very profound about the Haitian demography, and that added to the tension between Haiti, the DR, and the United States.
Well,
I will say,
you have to say something.
No, look, you know, we could spend a lot of time talking about that history, and I think that it's going to be important for the audience that we fast forward to connecting all of that to present challenges. I, of course, concur with everything the Prime Minister said. You know, I have to be careful because one of my dear friends, who's one of the leaders here in IOP, is a former journalist, and I have this habit of disparaging journalists and the profession of journalism, which I used to just have such admiration for. I used to hold it in high reverence. But one of the challenges that I find, say this most particularly to students here, is that increasingly journalists who are sent to cover issues either in America or overseas have no understanding whatsoever and no perspective on actual history. So you'll find yourself, it happens to me all the time, in conversation with reporters who are, you know, kind of earnest and really, really smart and digging in on a challenge, and you begin to respond and you realize that for that reporter, history started with the headline. And it does a profound disservice to the audience, to the issue, et cetera. So all of the things that we are going to talk about where Haiti stands now, just want you to understand, you can't gain a purchase on any of it if you don't get this history of exploitation. If you're using Reynolds wrap, right? We've all used Reynolds wrap, right? If you're using Reynolds wrap and you don't understand, if you're a reporter covering Haiti and you don't understand the devastation in Haiti, and you don't know that Reynolds wrap and R.J. Reynolds exists because of a concessionary deal that Reynolds had to mine and basically strip mine all of the bauxite out of Haiti and leave back behind a toxic sludge that Haitians themselves had to clean. And they paid the country $1 for 40 years of mining the bauxite and shipping it to Texas to make an extraordinary fortune. If you don't understand that, if you're a reporter and you think you're covering Haiti, or if you're a student, somebody who's trying to analyze what on earth is going on now and what the U.S. interest is, you'll kind of never get it.
Yeah. Yes. So we are going to
To move to the present.
we are present. We're the present. We're talking about right now the situation with the gangs. I'm sure most of you probably have a lot of questions to ask about how that come to realization that we have a country almost run by gangs, actually. So Madame Pierre-Louis was a prime minister for about 14 months in Haiti. So from 2008 to 2009. So can you tell us really what it is like to run the police in Haiti? I know you were kind of part of the superior council of the national police. So as a prime minister and also as a minister of justice and public service, so during that time, so you are one of the highest ranking official who run the police system in Haiti. So can you tell us what is the challenge? What makes it so difficult for police to get a hang of the gang?
No. When I was prime minister, there was no police running against the gangs. But anyway, it's true that you see, I've been involved in many different institutions in Haiti. You know, I studied abroad. I studied in France and the United States, and I went back to Haiti with a strong desire to understand better my country, its own history, but also its relation to other countries, the way businesses is done in Haiti, you know, the way politics is done in Haiti. And I've worked in many different institutions. I've worked in creating the first development finance corporation in Haiti. I studied economics. I work in the public sector. I work in the private sector. I work in the banking system. And I was very curious to understand all those different institutions, their relationship to policies and to the government. And also I traveled throughout the country, meeting people, listening to what they understand of their own lives, what they understand of the country. So after Duvalier's departure, which was the dictator that run the country for 29 years, and who was president for life, and so therefore there were no elections, nothing, and I had never voted in my life. And I was already 30 years old. And so there was a big movement of citizenship trying to participate in the new deal that was going to take place. You know, I went to street demonstrations, trying to see how women can participate in the public affairs, in creating the new constitution for the country. And I became involved in many different organizations, trying to really push forward the idea of democratic values, of democratic practices, of inclusion, and an aspiration for really changing things the way they were, knowing very well that if a dictatorship lasts 29 years, all the infrastructure and the legal system of the country, of the government, was based and made to serve the dictator. And all this I kind of understand, and even though I didn't have a real grasp on things. So, since the first political experience that took place after the departure when the US came and removed the dictator, that was all that was done. And again, the US really pushed for elections. We keep saying we're not ready yet. There has to be some cleaning to be done. We're not ready, we're not organized. People have never voted so far. They said, no, you have to have elections. The first election, the army killed people who were going to vote, and the election was canceled. Many people died while they were putting their ballot on the urns. So that was the first bad experience, 2 years after Duvalier's departure. But yet, we kept on fighting, and I've always been called to participate in the government. I've always refused, saying that my role in civil society was more important at the time, and we were organizing people. And then there was that extreme experience also. Aristide, who was a priest, a very radical with his theology, he became elected in 1991, and I was in his private cabinet. He called on me to serve on his private cabinet, and he offered me several ministries. I didn't want to. I said I would rather try to understand how government works. That was my real experience close to a president, and participating in different meetings with all the ministers, with the embassies, with the international community. That was a very good experience. But again, I thought I did not quite understand how these things work. And after that, I was called again and again and again. And then in 2008, there was a prime minister that had to resign, and the president, whom is a friend, I knew that president. I met him, I was 20. I was studying in France, he was studying in Belgium, and we met in Paris. And since then, we've been friends, really close friends. Because my family, my daughters were raised with his daughters. We knew each other very well. And things like that. He had called on me several times before. I didn't know. So that time he said, you know, Michèle, that's it. That's it. You're going to have to accept this time. And I told him, you know, I have an issue there. my mother doesn't want, my daughter doesn't want. He said, I know them, I'm going to visit them. So he went to see my mother and said to her, I came to ask you for Michèle's hand. And my mother told him, you know, Michèle is an adult, she'll make her own decision. But the reason why I'm against it, I don't think you're going to support her. My daughter just had her baby, her son, when the president called her and said, come to visit me in the National Palace with your son, I want to hold him. And my daughter told him the same thing, but he kept holding the baby. And finally, there was so much pressure on me that I said, okay, I'm going to give it a chance. So I accepted. That was a very interesting experience to me, difficult. Because, you know, you arrive with so much aspiration, knowing all the difficulties, knowing how having policies that mean something, having public services that really deliver to the public, to the people, to the population in need, means something for me. I had a strong desire for emancipation of the people, for contributing to really solving a few issues that had to do with infrastructure. I arrived in the government exactly 2 days after 4 hurricanes had destroyed the country. All the bridges that connected one geographic department to the other had collapsed. So there were over 3,000 deaths, and we had to really be very active in trying to reconnect. So I had meetings with all the infrastructure contractors, and we tried to rebuild even makeshift bridges. And so we were really involved in trying to understand also how to help all those people that were in need. But at the same time, you know, I was telling Patrick that just before we came. When you believe in democracy, in what it means, you know, an educated leader, an educated people, and when you open after a dictatorship and all the traces of the dictatorship that still remain, you know, open society is its own worst enemy. And what does that mean? That means that when you open up, all the centrifugal forces of all extremes get also in the dance. You know, whether you have the fascists, whether you have the extra-nationalists, whether you have those who come to defend their own interest, they are all there. And how are you going to navigate and make intelligent compromises, having in mind the common good and the public interest, is extremely difficult. And in addition, considering the fact that we don't have a big tradition of parliamentarism, we had a very strong parliament, strong in terms of how much leeway the Constitution gave them. So I had to deal with all that and making the bitter acknowledgement that not all the people that I even knew before that, not even the president himself, had that strong desire of accomplishment, of the common good, of emancipation of the people, of serving. So, you know, I find myself in a difficult situation having to tackle with this, but I must say that the biggest shock was working on the budget. Because, you know, all the needs of the people, not only in the actual situation post 4 hurricanes, but historically. And then you see there's the revenues that come either from the fiscal entity or customs cannot serve the people. We depend on an international community that has its own interest. And in a country of 10 million people, a few 100,000 pay taxes. So how are we going to serve a population with so little revenues, public revenues? And to me, that was a big shock. And that's when I started to negotiate with the donor community to see how much we can engage in a conversation with them to meet the needs of the people. Not just their own interests, saying that they want this particular funding to go to this particular sector, but it's a big thing to negotiate that also. So that was I would say, I learned my lessons. And since then, I've been called even recently again to participate in
We're always trying to get her back in.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Can I?
Yes.
I think I have all the reasons to say no.
I'm going to quickly, if I can, connect everything that the Prime Minister said
Yeah,
to
you
the
need to
issue
go
of the
quickly
gang.
because we're going to the
I
audience.
know, but it's
config-
important
yeah.
to connect it meaningfully to the issue of the gang.
Yes.
So when the Prime Minister described her time in, she talked about the priest Aristide who had been in. Please understand that when Duvalier is kicked out and the U.S. finally, after decades, taps him on the shoulder and says, you got to go now. We're going to put another person in. Aristide comes in. At that point, the Haitian military had been disbanded. Aristide suffers a coup. He comes to the U.S. He returns to Haiti as a very different figure than he had initially been in his original term. He then creates kind of a paramilitary force to protect himself. That paramilitary force is composed of some of the most desperate young people who are from places like Cité Soleil, you may have heard of, incredibly desperate, who are then armed by Aristide and his Lavalas movement. That paramilitary force eventually gets its own kind of autonomous agency that becomes a gang, but it's not a gang in a traditional sense here, it's a gang that's controlled by political actors. Fast forward, we have an earthquake in the country, and again, history keeps repeating itself. The US Secretary of State, I think it was Hillary Clinton at the time, insisted that Haiti had to have elections following the earthquake. Some of us said, we're not ready, half the country is destroyed. US insisted. There was a figure named Michèle Martelly, who had been a former band, he was a pop figure. He was known as Sweet Mickey, and some of us knew that he was a gangster. But the US insisted that this person had to stand as a candidate for the presidency. Most people could not participate in that post-earthquake election. Mickey wins the election, and he stands up again. These paramilitary forces, these gangs, that this time are less connected to politics and more connected to the drug trade.
Absolutely.
And that becomes a kind of a consistent new manifestation of a new kind of mafia state in Haiti that takes us to the conditions that we're in right now that allow the gangs to run rampant in the country.
Yes. So we're going to have about 13, 15 minutes to invite you to ask some questions. So we'll give priority to the students. We have the microphone in the middle. So Emma back there, right?
And
So
we'll
can
try to
help
be
us.
prescriptive in our responses as we talk about what needs to come.
Yeah, so you feel free to ask any questions you want about Haiti. We have two bright minds here to address.
Prime Minister and Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Rishabh. I'm an MPP candidate at the Harris School of Public Policy. I'm very grateful that you guys, that both of you spoke quite a bit about the exploitative relationship between the United States and Haiti that has led to the conditions in Haiti that we see today. And my mind instantly went to the present day in the US in particular, when we have elections coming up in a month, less than a month. And very recently we had a presidential candidate, particular presidential candidate point to Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, and painted a very particular picture of those immigrants, which has since resulted in a lot of disinformation and hate speech and violence against Haitian immigrants in the U.S. I'm curious, do you have any words for that candidate and that rhetoric?
That's your question.
Yeah.
You know, I have so many words for that candidate. You know, that candidate has a habit of speaking things into the world about other people, and you realize at some point that it's a projection, a self-projection. So I think he has called himself everything under the sun. So let's say this: there's a kind of cultural existentialism that exists in the U.S. today. I think that it is an animating force in much of our politics that takes us to this MAGA moment that we're in. You know, I've worked in U.S. politics since I was a kid, and most especially in presidential politics since 1988. The first presidential campaign I worked on was Jesse Jackson's in 1988, and worked on every one of them since then. There's something that happens, and this stands to your question, there's something that happens at around 2012, 2013, where we enter the 21st century of communications, but all of the rest of us are still operating in a 20th century norm. That candidate that you just described is something of a savant. He understood that we were in a 21st century ecosystem and that the algorithms are driven by this kind of, you know, by passion, by anger, by fear, by anxiety. So that individual is always trying to turn up the dial, in particular, on those passions, but in a way that's connected to cultural existentialism. Why is Springfield important? Over the course of the last 15 years, Springfield has lost 20% of its population. If you live in Springfield and you send Junior off to college in Miami, New York, Los Angeles, wherever, Junior either didn't come back or Junior returned and introduced you to somebody who looks like Patrick Gaspard. And you're not entirely sure how you feel about it, but you realize that something is changing in your community. At some point, the Republican governor of your state, the Republican mayor of your city, embraces a national program that started under that candidate, by the way, that incentivizes workforce from other cities, states, documented migrants to come to your city, to take the jobs in the Amazon factories, the Honda factories, all the places where you were kind of gutted and emptied out. They do really well. They begin to prosper in Springfield and in Columbus, Ohio, as well. More come in because of word of mouth. At some point, there's a downward pressure on public services in that town. More children in schools, longer waits in hospital emergency rooms, and challenges in the cost of housing. The Republican governor, the mayor of Springfield, and the federal government don't take up their responsibility to meet the new space of encounter as you get that public pressure on services. So naturally, there are tensions that exist, some resentment, but for the most part, there's comity, C-O-M-I-T-Y, in the community and people doing the work of integration. But that candidate who is really clever and understands 21st century media sees that as a space that he can exploit. He does it there. He does it in a number of other, like in Aurora. He does it there as well because he understands cultural existentialism in a sense that many people have, that they know we are moving by 2040, 2043 into a majority-minority country that has profound psychological implications that he's trying to take advantage of in the demography of our politics today. So there are some of us who do everything we can to help the community on the ground, even though it's not in the headlines anymore. Right now, today, they have the Proud Boys in their community patrolling the community. I know people who are afraid to send their children to school, who are afraid to show up at work now. So a profound challenge that we have to think through and work through, not only because of the challenge in Springfield, but because this is going to become a common challenge in many other parts of America where you have, let's be candid, aging white populations in places like Ohio and changing demographics in a new generation. And how all that works together is something that your generation is going to have to figure out for us.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Ambassador. Next.
Hi, Prime Minister. My name is Daniel. I'm a fourth year. Really honored to speak to you. I do want to pick your brain a little bit, if that's okay, because I understand the ambassador said provocation is okay. So I'm an economics major, and I find the case with the Dominican Republic and Haiti to be fascinating because I think it's one of the largest economic disparities in the world, if I'm not mistaken. They're on the same island, and yet the DR's GDP per capita, I believe, is 8 times larger. And I know we talked about debt, but I would just ask, well, Haiti paid off its debt 77 years ago. The DR now has a larger amount of debt. And so I can't help myself but then look at where else do they differ. And I look at the people themselves. And Haiti, the mixed European population is 5%. The DR is 60%. And a lot of people see that and they say, okay, there has to be something with the people. They go to IQ, they go to things like that. I do want to ask your thoughts, and I do want to, I guess, just propose the sort of out-of-box solution. It's very tragic what's happening, and I do want it to end in Haiti. I do want peace to be happening there. Do you ever see a European country maybe coming in, I don't know, Canada, any European country coming in and annexing Haiti?
You want our thoughts on eugenics? Is that?
Oh, man.
I didn't say that at all.
You want to?
That's great. I mean, Prime
No.
Minister.
No.
But actually, Prime Minister,
Yeah.
is it useful to maybe unpack a little what the difference is between Dominican Republic and Haiti that's led to?
Yeah.
what
And then
this,
also,
what this young scholar
I'm glad
has,
he addressed a little bit while he's saying, comparing GDP, and then, but
Yeah,
Haitians are producing
exactly. If you look,
for the Dominican Republic.
if you even read Dominican historians,
Yeah.
not just Haitian, you will see how the relationship between the two countries in the island have been complex at times and dependent one on the other. As I said earlier, the anti-Haitian sentiment towards came from the fact that Haiti abolished slavery in the DR. So that happened early 19th century, around 1822, 1823. And because the Spaniards, you see, you said something that is kind of not true. There are no French Haitians. No French people stayed in Haiti after the revolution. Actually, those who stayed were massacred. So there are mixed race that existed since colonial time. But all people of, say, my skin color in Haiti are Haitians. And they come from way back to colonial times when the colonists, the slave owner, raped the women slaves. So in Haiti, it's a very different type of I would say, ethnic development than in the DR, where the Spaniards were the dominant class, and they were the one who owned the slaves. So when slavery was abolished, they were the one who started with the anti-Haitian and anti-Black racism. Until, I would say, the 1980s, until the 1980s, the situation in Haiti was much better than in the DR. You can look at the statistics, you can look at all the economic references. And the whole situation started to, while Haiti was going in a very difficult time after Duvalier's departure, the DR started to have extremely important investment from the United States in the DR. And the labor force came from Haiti, once again. Whether it be in the sugar factory, whether it be in construction, whether it be in the tourist industry, whether it be in food production, the manpower, the labor force is Haitians. So even what is happening today, if the Dominican Republic were really to kick out all the Haitians that are in the DR, the economy of the DR would collapse.
And your point on debt, you know, we don't have time to really unpack this, but there's a huge difference between productive debt and extractive debt, which is the difference between Haiti and Dominican Republic. And it's actually false to say that Haiti finished its debt payments 70 years ago. That's actually not completely correct. And want to just, you know, that point about U.S. investments into DR is really important to understand the difference in the relationship. I have Dominican cousins. My Dominican cousins are able to have dual citizenship with the U.S., whereas Haitians on the other side of the island are denied dual citizenship. That has huge implications for investments, for business opportunities. And if you understand what the distinguishing factors are between the Haitian Constitution, which again was written by Marines during U.S. occupation, and the Dominican Constitution, it begins to answer a lot of questions about agency, autonomy, and growth and development. But that's a conversation that I'd love to have at some point. Maybe I'll put my European hat on that day. I'll be a little smarter.
And there is an ideology.
Next question.
And there is an ideology about racism also, you see. Even black Dominicans don't believe they are black.
Yeah, because that's that's the image created in their mind. So by the dominant forces. So we don't have that much time. So we would like to take one question quickly.
Hello again. I'm Ariana. I have a question that will probably answer Daniel's question because it's about all of the financial histories of Haiti. I said earlier that's what my capstone is on, and about how we have a lot of foreign, you know, interests that mess Haiti up. And so you guys already spoke about the independence debt and you spoke about Citibank. One of the topics I want to cover in my capstone is the aid money that went to the earthquake. If any of you want to talk about that and how the aid money actually never reached Haiti. So even after they experienced that devastating earthquake, all of these corporations promised money to Haiti that actually never helped the island. So there's a narrative that they were being helped and they weren't. And I want to know if you guys want to talk about that.
Yeah, let's go quickly.
There are two issues. Yeah. And I'll give you an example after the earthquake. I met with the second the political officer at the U.S. Embassy in Haiti 4 months after the earthquake. And he said, we already spent $1.4 billion in Haiti. The earthquake was in January, that was in April. And I said, what? The U.S. has already spent $1 billion? He said, yes. We have this big ship hospital in the harbor, you know. Every cotton, whatever, comment on dit ça, you know, everything is counted as aid to Haiti. You know, the helicopter that comes from the ship to the ground, the gas, all this is added.
Logistics.
As, you know, aid to Haiti. So you have this particular thing. The second thing, President Clinton was the head of the Reconstruction Committee. He was in charge with the prime minister that came right after me. Because fortunately, I left before the earthquake. And we still are trying to see who is accountable for the millions of dollars that came to that. We don't know what detour they took, and it's still a pending issue.
Yeah, Ambassador.
So that's the last question that we're taking,
Yes,
right? So
yes.
I just want to, I think that the Prime Minister answered, I'm sorry? I think that the Prime Minister answered the question in full, but I just want to note that right now, the moment that we're having this conversation, Haiti is under siege. The Prime Minister is going to return to a Haiti where some of us every single evening have to pray for her safety and the safety of so many other Haitians. 2 weeks ago now, less than 2 weeks ago now, in the Artibonite region. 70 Haitians were slain by gangs. Some months ago, I found myself in Jamaica at the behest of the U.S. Secretary of State. I was asked to join a set of negotiations to help stand up a new interim government in Haiti after the previous interim prime minister, who was selected by the United States, could not even return to the country because gangs had overtaken the airport, et cetera. So I went and participated in a set of negotiations that led to the scaffolding that we're standing up right now over interim governance in Haiti. There are individuals that we were compelled to put on that interim governance committee whose hands are dirty, who have been involved in some of the corrupt acts that we've described here. I do not want to stand on this stage and try to suggest that all blame for everything that's happening in Haiti is because of external actors. There are internal actors who have agency, who are responsible, who are doing all of this. Regrettably, there are not systems of accountability that have been created in this period of transition. We're in a moment where, yet again, my government, the American government, is insisting that Haiti must move quickly to elections in how many more months now? 16 more months or thereabouts. The infrastructure's not there. Civil society is terribly weakened. There is not an independent judiciary. There are 400 Jamaican soldiers who are in Haiti right now who are Kenyans. What did I say?
Jamaican.
Sorry, there are
Yeah,
there are dozens of Jamaicans.
Actually, there's 26 Jamaicans.
26 Jamaicans, but there are several hundred Kenyans and more coming, but it's an insufficient force to deal with the 15,000 gang members who are on the ground. Some of us are advocating for a true UN intervention in Haiti to make right on all the wrongs that have happened in Haiti in some time. And I hope that sometime in the near future you will be hearing more about that and you'll see some real progress on these issues.
So that concludes the event tonight. We thank you for coming.